time being, this is the URL you will use to officially log in.
I just switch it to me.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And if at any point anyone has questions or getting hung up somewhere, definitely feel free to ask or speak to any of the individuals sitting behind.
Yeah, hey Brian, maybe we should differentiate between a question directed towards you and then just general help me. So maybe raise your hand with all your fingers up. This is a question for Brian, and one finger means help me. Or
2 means free bird.
well, this one finger.
Please be
What if I only
specific.
have
If you
one
raise
other
the
finger?
well, I don't know. But if you tend to raise that finger and you have your other finger, I'm sorry.
All right. Is everybody at this particular page yet, or do we need another second? I really enjoy the mouse controls for this one.
Is that one of the ones with reverse buttons?
Yeah.
Mr. Left-Handed Charles.
I know I'm good. Yes.
Did that because he's left-handed.
He messes me up every time I try to go into his office and help him with something.
Okay.
Mine's not going to that page, no matter which browser I use.
That would be the one finger.
Yeah.
So web stage, oh, there's no www.
Ah.
Okay, so signing into the CMS OU campus that we are using to edit web pages is fairly easy. If you just scroll down to the bottom of the page, in the footer, you'll see questions all about a copyright symbol. Click the copyright symbol. And once it shows up, it should prompt you for username and password. Use your UTC ID and password.
Oops. Everybody's
That's
getting an
okay.
error.
That's an expected error message because you don't have permission to edit the homepage. Let's see. Then somebody's got some problem logging in with UTC ID.
No, that's good. That's
Right.
actually
That's
good.
fine.
Okay.
You should get an error message of the right kind.
Hey Dan,
Yes.
HDS 477.
It's got a, is it lowercase? She should be set up. That's, I got the. If you were registered for this week, yes.
Okay, is everyone in now? No?
I thought we
Okay, yeah, so this, if you see an error message, that is okay. That is a known thing that is expected in some cases, so you're in those, that's what matters.
That basically means that you don't have permission to edit the homepage, which is probably good.
Yeah, it's defaulting to the one page.
Say, in general, going forward, eventually, you'll just browse to your own department page that you have access to. When you click that button, you'll go directly to your department. So,
So
if you start at your page, when you log in, you're all set.
So what we are going to do is get you to your particular department site.
I remember, let's see.
Do what? Okay. So up at the top, you'll see two tabs, Dashboard and Content. Under Content, you'll see an additional list of menu options. If you click Pages, you should all hopefully see what you're seeing on the screen right now. Is anybody not seeing this? Okay. And the location you should be at is top. See at the top of this box where it says location, top. This is essentially the index for the website. So what I need you to do is scroll down and look for the title of the department that you are in. So for example, if I was a college of business, I will see this folder here, college of business, and click in that. Let me know if anybody has any problems with that.
Yours should be Think Achieve.
Think you should.
He's gonna show you your social work.
I'm not.
Social work
I'm
also.
not where I click, it's not open.
You might be able to do this.
No right click, just click.
This one looks like he doesn't have, his access is.
What?
Terry Sandberg music. Yep.
Music should be all set up.
If we have two pages in the thing, will it eventually have access to both?
Correct, yes.
Okay. But for now, we would need a.
Yeah,
Okay.
well, yeah.
Tricia, you just probably need to send Dan an email and tell him which two you need
Okay.
access to.
Can you double check YFNs?
I'm working on it. You know what it is.
Okay.
So while we are getting, so outside of you, everybody else is in a folder right now, so you can at least see, okay. So there are a handful of files and folders in this, and while we're working on access, I'll sort of run through these. What you will see are 3 folders and 3 files. You'll see an images folder, a PDFs folder, and a profiles folder. Within the images folder, you will also find an archive folder. What we're trying to do is for any image that you currently have that's active on your site, we're going to migrate over into an archive folder so you don't have to worry about saving as or getting onto the server, doing that stuff. It will just automatically be there for you to use. That will be located in an archive folder. Any images that you are going to have on your website, you want to store in this particular folder. Same with the PDFs. If you have a site that makes heavy use of PDFs, use this particular folder for those. The profiles folder is going to be the directory. So this is where when somebody comes to our site and they see the listing of everybody who works in a particular department with the images of those individuals, as well as maybe CV, any of that, that's where those individual pages will be stored per person. One of the important things to know about OU Campus, the CMS that we're using, is that images and PDFs, I'll back up for a second.
Terry, you should be good.
Do I need to just refresh the page?
You don't even have to do that, just click on it.
In the upper right-hand corner of this particular box, you'll see 2 additional tabs, Staging and Production.
Nope.
Just click on it.
Staging is essentially the draft of your page that is not live to the world at large. Production is what people will be seeing on the web page at that point. Images and PDFs only live for the time being on the production side of things. So if you're trying to navigate to an image that you want to insert into your page, you have to make sure that you click on the production tab. For everything else, while you're working on the draft of your page, make sure that you're on the staging tab. Did that work for you? Were you able to get in?
Yes.
Okay. So the other 3 files in this particular folder are the props file, the site nav file, and the index file. The index is just the default page that gets created whenever you create a new section for a page. So this, for each department, this is automatically going to be there. The props file is just a series of elements about the section, property elements, property sort of, yeah, elements of props file. The side nav file is the navigation menu file that's on the left-hand side of the page with this particular folder. The other tab that I want to show you just briefly in the upper left is the dashboard tab. You see workflow, current projects, broken pages, and setting references. One of the common behaviors you want to start getting yourself into when you are working and editing your pages is under the current projects. If you see here, for me, I've got 4 separate pages that the status has this little light bulb on. You hopefully won't see anything yet because you haven't been working on anything, but for me it shows that I've got 4 pages that are current and being worked on. Anytime that you stop working on your page for the day, you do not want to leave these things checked out. Always click here and it will check in the page just so that things are not locked out from anybody that may be editing your website. So if there are 2 more editors or more than 1 editor for your site, this will be incredibly useful so that if somebody comes up behind you and needs to finish working on something, they won't be locked out of doing so. That is under dashboard and current projects. So back under content pages, a couple of controls I want to show you. In the upper right hand corner, you will see a little box with a little green arrow that points to the right. Does everybody see it right here? If you click that, what that does is minimize the screen that you're looking at. Still see the files in your folder, but if you're working on a particular page, say for example the index page, it allows you to be in kind of multiple places at once to do your editing. But you lose a certain amount of options for what you can do on the page when you've got the folder minimized at that point. If you want to get back to that space, you just go back to the green arrow up here, expand, and you have just this view again. Within this view, you've got a couple of different icons that you can make use of. One is the check-in, check-out. Similar to the one we just looked at under the dashboard for checking things in. There is the reminder. So if you had content that was sensitive based on time, you might utilize this function to sort of remind yourself about when things need to be published or when pages need to be updated or removed. You can preview a file, but see what it looks like before you publish it for everyone out there to see. You've got the ability to change access and property issues. You can look at the history of the file, so if you wanted to see how many drafts and revisions of it, or if you made a change that you didn't mean to save, you can go back and check to see. Older versions, you can rename a file, copy it, move it, and finally recycle it. Is everybody at this screen right now still? Okay. So the process of converting old website to the current website is sort of a 3-part process. There is the making of sort of blank pages to move your content into. So if you've got 40 pages on the current website, what you want to do is go ahead and make sure that you know in advance what your new navigation, a new menu is going to be, just in case you plan on changing anything. So for example, if you've got a page on the history of the department or the mission of the department, you want to go ahead and make sure that you create the new pages within the current or the new CMS so that you can go ahead and build out the structure for your site. The second part will be copying over the content from the old pages into these new blank pages that you've created. And then the third part of the process will be enhancing the content itself. So anything beyond standard text. So if you want to go ahead and make sure your images are on a page, or embedded audio or media, anything along those lines, that's sort of the third portion of this process. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to take you through the process of creating a new page. We'll go through that, and then we'll go through the process of creating a new section if that is something that might be relevant for your site. And then we'll show some basic editing tools of those pages. So everybody should be in their folder. They should be looking at this screen right here. Beneath the staging tab, you will see a green circular button that says new. You will click that for me. It will take a second to load. What will happen is you will see a series of options. You may see different ones than me. You may see yeah, you'll see fewer ones than me. And it should be new interior page, new interior folder, and new profile page. Is that what everybody's seeing? Nobody's seeing anything addition? Okay. So for our purpose, we want to click on new interior page. And what this is doing is, that work for everybody when you click this? You should see another box with a series of, everybody got that? So what we're doing here is, in the process of creating a new page, there are a couple things that we want to, bits and pieces of information that we want to give the page before it's generated. First, you will see is page title. And page title is basically what it says it's going to do. Where this will appear is in two locations. It will be the name that appears in the browser tab up here, and it will be the name that appears in your side navigation on the left-hand side of the screen. So to show you an example real quick. So for example, this will be the side navigation right here. So when you get a page title, see up here where it says Welcome to University Relations. What we're putting here is essentially what will appear up here. So this is going to be something you want to call your page that, let's say, for this particular folder, if I wanted to say our mission. So go ahead for yourselves and just sort of follow through this process along with me. And it doesn't have to be the thing necessarily that you want to work on today, but just to sort of work through this process. The next box is keywords. This is to help search engines track and locate your page. It will also help with the search box when people are on our site looking for things. So in this particular case, if I wanted to say that this is about our mission, I could do mission, say goals, objectives.
And a CSV list. CSV list.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it really should be phrases or words that are actually on your page. It's not real helpful if you put keywords that don't actually appear on your page.
Because people are going to be looking for things that will be based on this page.
Yeah.
And as time goes by, we'll have a sort of best practices for this sort of thing as well. People are building up their sites. Description, just a brief description. This is the page where we talk about our mission.
This is also going to show, the description is going to show in search engine results as the text underneath the title.
Yeah.
So it's pretty important too.
Definitely not something you want to leave blank either. Breadcrumb title, just to show you on the current, the newest site, breadcrumb will be underneath this blue bar right here. So in this particular folder would be University Relations / and then this would be maybe mission again. So gallery type, header type, and page layout. These are options for how the content can be arranged on your page. For the time being, just leave it the default of what it is. But if you click the arrow, you'll see that there are a few different options. This is something you want to play around with once you've got a little bit more time to play in your site to sort of see how the information can be arranged on your page. These are options that we provided for this particular layout. Under file configuration, add navigation item, it defaults to yes. Just leave that where it is for now. That just ensures that it will show up in the navigation itself. Interior page file name, this is essentially what the URL is going to be called. Right now it says untitled.pcf, it defaults to this. Do not delete the PCF. This absolutely has to remain there 100% of the time. The page will not work if you delete this. So the only thing that you want to retitle is the word untitled itself, keeping in mind that this is what the name of the URL itself would be. And once you've done that, if we're all on the same page, you would click create. And once you click create, it should default to the minimize window where you've got your folder structure on the left side, and you should see what looks to be sort of a blank page with the university header. If you see, on my screen, it may look a little different from what you see. Right here, you will see what essentially would be the version of the website as it would look on the iPad, because it's built responsibly and it's built to adjust to different devices. But if you see the normal looking website on your screen, which is probably what you should be, just know what you're seeing up here. Is everybody at this part right now? Did anything go wrong for anyone?
Suggestion I make here would be maximize here.
Yeah, definitely maximize the window if it's not already maximized.
Just in the question.
Yes.
When the site goes live, is PCF going to be default?
No, it will not. PCF is just sort of it means that PCF stands for Publish Control File, and what this is just, it's sort of like the rough draft file that we see on our end, and it interacts with the CMS, but once we publish it, it will default to PHP, so like mission.php.
Okay, so we don't have to reprint anything we've already got out there that says whatever .php.
For the time being, no, because the current site is all PHP or, yeah, no. Now, should you change any of your URLs, of course you have to.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, so for the time being, nothing should change.
Should the name of their file be in the side nav yet?
No.
No. Okay.
No.
Oh, that's right.
Yes. And so a couple things to note about when you're filling out the interior page file name and some of this stuff. Do not use special characters. This will mess with things furiously. Stick to, for file names in particular, what's going to show up in the URL, stick to lowercase, stick to one word when possible. If you have to go more than one word, use a hyphen between words. Do not use an underscore. This is just the best practice that we're trying to get everybody into the habit of using. It makes for a more uniform experience for the users, as well as prevents us from running into issues down the road. So, alphanumeric, preferably alpha, hyphens, no underscores, one word. Yeah. And that's just for the file name. Alright. What we're going to do real quickly is I want to show you a little bit about how you would edit this page. And then once we get through that, I'll show you how you do a new section if that's something that's necessary. So is everybody at the screen right now where you've got left box? Okay. So up here you've got a series of boxes: edit, props, preview, compare, backup, access. What I want you to do is to click edit. And if you will notice, over in the left column for the page that you just created, you will see that the little flashlight shows that you've checked in. This in it, it's highlighted to show you that this is a page we're at right now. So if you click edit, page should expand. Mine might be a little slower. And you've got, everyone should have two green edit buttons. Does everybody see that? The green edit button over here is for the body of your web page. The green edit button over here, think of this as sort of a secondary left side menu options. This particular navigation tool right here will be sort of the mandatory set of pages within the subfolder. So for example, if this was the sort of About Us folder, eventually when you publish everything, you maybe see About Us, our history, our mission. This will be a drop-down box. And then if you had pages that were just maybe something relevant and useful that you want people to see, this is where you would edit it right here. And for the time being, what I want you to do is click on the green edit button that is in the center of the page. that loads, what you should see is the blank box with the WYSIWYG editor at the top of it. Is everybody familiar with the inner concept line WYSIWYG editors? They've all been used these enough. So one of the things that we want to do at this point is the copy paste portion. That is, if you want to go to a page on your current website, my particular needs, I'm just going to pull up a random page, but if you wanted to pull up a page where you had something that you want to copy, just some text. In my case, I'm going to copy some text from the Africana Studies page. And I'm going to come back over. One thing to note about the WYSIWYG editor at the moment is that best practice to not get frustrated is to use the keyboard commands for copy and paste rather than using the copy and paste function within the WYSIWYG editor itself. So everyone know about the Control-C, Control-V? Is there anyone who does it? Everybody have some text copy and pasted? Now, depending on what you copy and pasted, you may see all kinds of interesting stuff on your page, like this one over here. Where did you pull that from? Just out of curiosity. Missions page. Okay. So if we did nothing else at this point, let's say everything worked 100% in the copy and paste, I could hit up here in the upper left-hand corner of the WYSIWYG editor, save. Now clicking save doesn't push it to the live website for everybody to see. This is just saving a draft of it within the staging server. But I just want you to be able to see, at least on my screen, that it looks pretty much, the text at least is identical, but you can see that there will be a little bit of work that I will have to do to go in to just make it look a little prettier. Just because of the way the formatting exists on the old site, maybe some of the HTML in the background.
Or it was just entered incorrectly.
Or it was entered incorrectly, in my case.
Yeah.
Non-breakable spaces.
But I wanted you to see that it's fairly easy to go from just copying and pasting to saving to sort of seeing what's on your page and what it will look like. But the cleanup is what becomes really important. So you would click edit to go back into the page itself, to use various functions of the WYSIWYG editor.
Now, a lot of people are going to see that they've got maybe some things that they don't want to look so big in a heading style. The style sheet for the previous site had H2 tags, heading 2 tags that were very small and were essentially just a bold. Well, now we've got several different levels of heading style. So if you go down the list in the WYSIWYG under the paragraph drop down, and maybe choose one that's like H4 or H3, it's going to make it a lot smaller. But you probably got a lot of things that are H2, which people were just using as a shortcut for bold in the old days. So you'll need to change that. But it's relatively easy. You don't even have to select the whole line of text. You can just click somewhere in that element and then change it.
Are we building under HTML5 and CSS3?
Yes.
So for example, what Chris was just saying, I click somewhere in the header for my page, I drop it down from paragraph styles, I click header, and it automatically updates it to the style that I chose. Got header 1 through 6. We've got other options we can choose. So in the case of just clicking within the line for the header, updates the entire header, but if you want say the entire line to be bolded on top of that, you would need to highlight, quick bold up at the top. So there are some standard editing tools up here, but there are a couple things I also want to show you that may not be standard to what your customer is seeing. On the top line, next to save and save as, you've got revert content last saved, and you've got restore auto-saved content. This will come in handy if they're just very quick and dirty revisioning tools, in case you did some kind of accident, or if you want to see what something looked like. You've got standard cut and copy, paste, but try to default keyboard commands for those. Paste is plain text. So for example, if I wanted to try this again, let's try this. Copy. Let's see how this works out. See that some of the styling from when I initially pulled over changed.
Yeah, it's going to pull over the majority of the HTML tags from the old HTML if you copy from a former page, but you have to understand that the style sheet for the new site has different styles applied for all those tags. So it's going to adopt the style of the new website. So it may not look exactly like you want it, but it's doing exactly what you're telling it to do.
Has it been changed to where it's pulling HTML, or it should just be pulling text now?
No.
Yeah.
We discussed that last week.
So a few additional things that most pages are going to want or need to know about, so inserting links, inserting images, and inserting media. In the top right of the first line, WYSIWYG editor, you'll see insert edit link, a few other related options. Essentially, there will be two ways to insert links into your link page. Any page that is going to exist within the university website. Let's see. So, for example, highlight a word, click insert edit link. So yeah, there are two ways. If it's a web page that already exists within the new website versus an external to the university website link. If you're linking to another page within your site, or if you're linking to another department and it exists within, what you want to do is you will click browse, which is the little icon right next to the link URL. Does everybody see that? Is everybody at that point?
So yeah, select some text on your page as if you're going to make a link, and then click the insert edit link button.
Third from the right.
Yep.
And then we made the click the little button on the right hand side.
This right here is the browse. And then browse to
So
file.
once you get the file browser up, you can navigate using the breadcrumb trails up here to another site. So in my case, I might choose cats.php. Click on that, click select file. And what you'll see up on my screen is the brackets followed by a series of numbers, letter. If it's a web page within the new site, we have this thing called the dependency manager. And what it does is it allows you to never have to know what the URL is itself, and the system will just assign each page a number so that no matter what changes, if the URL changes, it will always have this. You never have to worry about going back through and figuring out if somebody somewhere else, either within your own department or in another department, changed the URL, the name to the web page. It will always remain this number right here, unless of course you delete the page. And so this is basically the thing called the dependency manager, and it inserts the link. It works. The outside world, they will see that URL if they were to look for it, but otherwise this is what we see internally. if you were using an external site, so let's try CNN, and I want to enter that. Rather than clicking browse, at this point all I would do is just copy and paste the URL into it, click insert, same thing. Does that make sense to everybody?
When we're copying it, if we're just typing in to an external link, do we need the HTTP or just the?
Yeah, go ahead and use the full URL, correct. So that is essentially inserting links. Two last things, image and video, very common. Case, right next to the styles drop down, you will see insert edit image and insert edit embedded media. So if you click on insert image, there's where you'd want to force in the page. Since all your images will be in your images folder in your directory anyway, you'll click the browse. Hopefully it will default to the images folder. If it doesn't now, it will in the future. Choose one of the images you want to insert. You'll see a little preview over to the right once you click that page. I don't know if there will be any, all the archive images already in their folders, or is that blank for the time being?
I don't know.
Dan?
Dan, what's the question?
Are there any images in their folders right now, or?
No,
Okay.
nothing's been moved yet.
Okay. So go ahead and click in, let's see if this works for you. Click up here under File Browser, click Main. Let's see. And hopefully you will see a folder called Images if you scroll down. Does everybody see that? So once you click into that, click on any number of the images, just one of the images that you see there. So see, it shows up in the image preview. You have editing abilities with images, cropping. It's not, you're not going to be able to do Photoshop like things within OU Campus, but basic cropping abilities with images you can do. For the time being, just click select File. It should pop you back to the box for insert images. Beneath image URL, you'll see image description and title. You want to fill these out all the time. Image description can be sort of a generic multi-word description. You know, this is the image of trees on a summer day. Title is important because this is the equivalent of the alt tag for HTML. So for accessibility reasons, we always want to fill out the title so that if somebody is using a program that is sort of reading through the page, it would read out what the image is the person who needs it read. Then you click Insert, and depending on where you click on the page, you should see an image show up. Did everybody get that? The process is very much the same for inserting and embedding media. Click on the box, shows up. In this case, if we wanted to do a YouTube video, champion, you find the URL of what you want, you pop back over to your page.
It'll figure that one out for yourself, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we want it to default and remain. Yeah. So you all right. So once you have the URL that you want, you just plop it in file URL. Much like with external links, you want to have the full URL, not just www. you have a couple different options to play with, but that's more than you just click insert.
Oh, okay.
And OU Campus will sort of automatically identify the type of media that you grab. So in this case, it initially defaults to Flash, but once I hit insert, it changed to iframe to realize the dimensions that it wanted, and then it automatically inserted it into the page. Whereas with the image, you see the image in sort of the draft version with a lot of the media files you will end up seeing is this yellow box. It's still there, it just won't show until it's actually published to the main site. That makes sense to everybody? The two last little bits I just want to mention here are assets and snippets. They're at the far right of the second line of the WYSIWYG. Insert predefined snippet content, insert edit asset. Easiest way to think about snippets and assets is that they are predefined sort of chunks of code that do different things. In the case of snippets, and you don't need to do this, but I just want to show this to you. If you click, you've got these different categories of snippets. So here we see secondary, interior, training, and video, wide, HD, normal. Each one has their own different options. Essentially, these are groupings of codes that you can utilize for the site. They work well with the site, especially in their responsive, design nature, and they are customizable to your site. But they're things that we just sort of went ahead and built for you, so you can insert in your page without having to do a lot of the hard work to do it. Assets are a little different in that it's predefined, but you can't edit it. But where this might come in useful is in a, say, a piece of information that everybody site-wide would want to have access to, but not have to worry about whether it's accurate. So, really simple example is that you can define an asset as, say, how many students attend the university. And this is maybe a number that is maintained by administration, but maybe it's useful for some on a couple other pages, but none of us really want to know how often or frequently that changes. So if you insert that particular asset into your page, it will be the same for everybody. It's maintained in one place. And let's say the figure for enrollment goes up next year. You don't have to do anything to your page. It will just automatically update when somebody updates that for everyone. And there's a value in assets in that regard. But we won't really go into the inserting of those at the time being. That's a little more down the way. So let's say we got to the place where we're happy with our site. We're done for the day. We want to push out changes to the world. We click save. Defaults back to left column to the preview page mode. Is everybody there at this point? So big green, publish now. You click that. What you will see is you will see your page going through a series of final checks. It will make sure that you spelled everything correctly. It will make sure that none of the links are broken. It will make sure that in terms of accessibility to the site that there are no errors. Now on this one, because we're working in sort of a draft area, spelling error, link error, accessibility checks, but even if you published now and it's gone through the final check, if you scroll down, you'll still see this big publish button. That is what sends it to the world. So it's sort of a two-step process from the point of clicking publish now. And once you've done that, the changes are live, anybody can see them. And you'll be presented with an option to sort of see what exactly it looks like to the world. So you can view it within the frame you're looking in, you can view it in a new window, or you can view it within this window. So in this case, you'll see this is essentially what it would look like for my page to people in the world. Not the prettiest thing, but we went from having nothing to copying over some text, inserting an image, inserting YouTube, and we have a published page.
And when he says everyone can see this, that's just anyone right now.
Yeah, because we're in the staging environment for everybody's page, it's not pushed out to the world at large, it's just pushed out within Canvas.
Yeah.
But down the road, once we've flipped the switch and you're editing these pages post-July, in that case, you'd be out in the world at large.
So think about it that way.
Yeah, so we wanted to have everybody to get a chance to sort of duplicate this stuff themselves, sort of run through it one more time, play around a little bit. Does anybody have a question on anything we did at this moment?
If you want to line text next to the video,
That I'll show you how to do that in a much better way.
okay,
We have a snippet for that.
okay.
It'll be like a caption that goes under the video. And we'll explain some more about ways that we're going to do video to make it so that it works and looks the right size on every browser, from a phone to a desktop. That's just like the basic way that you can put a video in, but if you really want to do it the right way, we've got some code that'll make it do it the right way.
Okay.
You can have it look ugly on your page if you really want to. We will show you the right way.
Are there any other questions?
And the same with images. We've got like some styling that'll put a little box and a shadow around the image if you align it to the left or the right.
Yeah, okay.
That'll make it look good versus you having to go in and put horizontal spacing on it.
Okay.
Can we edit the source code?
No.
Why not?
Because
Go ahead, Dan.
because this is a content management system, it is not a coding system. It's not for web developers to play code. It's actually building in XML. It's not building in HTML.
Yeah, that's
so
what I
it's
figured.
very, very critical that the code is controlled tightly. So that's the reason behind it.
Yeah, it's much less forgiving if you screw something up.
Yeah, now, as we get into the advanced stuff, if you're concerned about like maybe having forms on your website, there's a tool built in that'll build a form, and it'll have validation, and it'll have feedback if it doesn't pass validation, and a success message if you send it correctly, and it'll save it to a database and send an email. So that's something that's built in. If you've got some really specialized things that you want to do, like slideshows, there's a couple of different options for building slideshows in here. So you won't really need to do something like that. If you've got something where you want some really interesting JavaScript user interface type stuff for navigation or tabs or accordions or things like that, or a modal window or something like that, we don't really have a way for you to do that yourself, but if you want to request something, there's a whole lot that's built into the HTML and CSS and JavaScript with this site that will do a whole bunch of stuff. If you want to learn how to make a button, that's something that'll be like the easiest and first thing that you learn when you come to an advanced class. It's basically just dropping a couple of style tags on a link, and it'll make it into a button. So there's a lot of things that you might think you want to do that you don't really need to do, or don't frustrate yourself by trying to do them. Just continue to come to training, and you'll keep getting more tools in your toolbox. If you get to the point where you want to be an HTML editor, then maybe you pass through all the different trainings and you still find that you need to do more, then I guess you can eventually become an HTML editor.
Since I've been one for
Yeah.
20 years, I've always
Yeah.
But I was right at the particular moment in
Yeah.
time. I was just thinking in terms of fine tuning the placement of an image or